Hello guys, welcome back. And today's video we're gonna check the new two tier lists that we got from China. Those are really recent, so it's fresh, right? It's fresh. And there's two tier lists that I want to talk about. We're gonna check them, and I also want to touch a little bit on 37 and 6 because they are skyrocketing either in popularity and in power as well. Like people are realizing how powerful they are. I'm starting to have like a lot of people telling me, "Yo, Jaka, should I skip this for 6 and 37, or for 6 or just for 37?" Right? So we're gonna touch on them as well, but I wanted to check this tier list and check. So we have two tier lists, global and limbo. Now, global, as you can see, Chinese community seems to be thinking that so far, and it's been a while, right? So at this point, I'm assuming that they're set on this decision, right? They seem to think that every character is like, oh, okay, yeah, well, if you don't have to, if you don't want to pull for it, you don't have to pull for it, right? You don't have to. But it's good. You can do this team, you can do that team, you can do this approach. Or if you like pose, you can get changeling. But everybody seems to be of the same idea that Tooth Fairy is a must pull, right? Even the Chinese community. And Tooth Fairy has been out for months now in China. So probably like 3 months or something. It's been a while, so right. 1.5 is coming out in 2 days, kind of. So at this point, we can safely tell that Tooth Fairy is an extremely powerful unit, and if you can, you should get her. Okay, I understand having other healers. I understand, but in many scenarios, we're gonna be able to put Tooth Fairy everywhere, right? So also in 1.4, right, in Limbo 1.4, to the X6, so Limbo 6, the final fight is a 4-man, right? Usually we have a 3-man. Now it's a 4-man, only for that stage. The other stages are normal. The final stage is going to be a 4-man fight, according to my Chinese sources, right? So I haven't been there on my Chinese account. I can't do Limbo yet on my stupid account. I need to fix it. So we can see here that on global, these are the characters that are really liked and they think they're good, right? So we have Tooth Fairy at the absolute top, absolute rank 1, because she's really good, basically, right? She's extremely good, but most importantly, with her debuffs and mega heals and dispels on crit for the ult and the baby tooth system and the i3 that helps like healing up a little bit. You don't need it, yada yada yada. Okay, but at some point you're gonna get the i3, right, and it's gonna help you a little more during the flow. So overall, this is a character that can fit everywhere, especially now that in 1.4 onwards we're getting in Chinese, and we're gonna get in global more content with 4-man at that point, and people are in China are using 2 healers. They're using, let's say, Changeling, Beacon Bloom, Tooth Fairy, and Sotheby, right? Because they're 4, right? So you can heal with Tooth Fairy and poison with Sotheby, right? So, or you can put Tooth Fairy wherever you want. So that's why she stopped. The other characters here are like no surprise. You can tell. I don't have to tell you why they're good at this point. I'm assuming you know, but we'll touch about 6 and 37 in just a second. Let me finish checking the tier list. Now there are a little bit of surprises here. To be fair, I wasn't expecting Charlie to be this high, but I know that she's good. I was thinking like maybe T 1.5, T2, because she's a 5-star, but no. Apparently Charlie still holds up. So if you main star DPS is Charlie and you don't want to get 37 for whatever reason, maybe you don't have enough pulls because you're pulling stuff in 1.3, so then you can keep your Charlie because Charlie is extremely good even today, right? The other additions are like surprising. I would say Sweetheart has been having like a blast recently. Like people are kind of realizing that we're kind of sleeping on her. She's really good. The only problem with Sweetheart, in my opinion, And apparently it doesn't matter because she's tier 1.5, right? I don't know what's this tier strat. I don't know why T0. Personally, I would just have T1, T2, T3, T4, etc. Sure, let's keep this. But the problem with that I have when I saw the first time Sweetheart was the like that her I1 and I3 are just for defense because she applies the empowerment enchanted. I think it's enchanted on the enemy, and if it's they deal less damage to her when you attack. They attack you, so you don't get more damage from your portrait from your eye insights. So, but the portrait, yes, you deal more damage with the portraits. You have a bigger debuff on the alt for just from P1. So having P5, especially some of you might have like a decent amount of portrait after pulling for Melania. I didn't. I just got one balloon party. Sure. But yeah, the surprise was the main surprise was Sweetheart, and then we have Satsuki and Kanjira. I mean, Kanjira, we know that Kanjira is a good alternative for Sotheby for the poison team, but Satsuki, I was hoping it would be a little higher, and she was, because I always thought that rigidity is kind of silly, but she can work with Druvis, right? So you can put them together and do like a Petri team, which I'm assuming I can't do it because I don't have Druvis, and I don't think, do I even have Satsuki? I don't even know if I have Satsuki, right? So, but it's nice that she's up here because like it's pretty used. So if you like Satsuki, you're in for a good treat. You can keep using it, right? But the others are classic. Sonetto still holding strong, and then we have T2. We have a bunch of characters. I think more or less. The surprise here, funny enough, it's Babel. It's probably because people are since it's 4-man, some content is 4-man. She bumped up a little more from being like not used, from being like used a little bit, right? So now she's decent instead of being like super bad and nobody wants her to be like decent. So every one of you that have new Babel, don't cry anymore, because now you can use her, you will be able to use her nicely during like 4-man group, and you can see here on the tier list. There's I mean, Horrorpedia is here, which is decent, which is a little bit of a surprise, but it's not big surprise, and it's understandable. It's T2. We are on T2. It's not like insane, right? Blonnie is here as well. It's she's critical. So she comes with Tooth Fairy, so you can put her together with Tooth Fairy if you don't have any star DPS, right? So she will work, but it's not gonna be any Charlie or Lilia or Regulus or 37, right? And then there's the others. I'm not gonna touch on the others, but this at the bottom, by the way. Do not think that I'm gonna link everything. Don't worry about it, so you can check it yourself. But these characters are not ranked, basically. This is like situational. This means like situational tier. So these are good for specific strats or specific situational content when it's like, okay, I'm dying too much, so I'm gonna do necrologist, right? Or you're fighting spirit or intellect, or you need like some mox removal and you don't have anyone else, then you can use Exalt, or Leilani for the moxie start, or La Source if you need another healer, or Door if you want to do the ult spam with necrologist, right? So there's a lot of nuances in this, so don't look at this like it's some trash, because it's not the bottom tier. It's just a special tier that's called like situational. So the character is not used until you need it for something. That's what it means. On Limbo instead, on Limbo we have a slightly different approach, a slightly different tier list. We have the usual suspects, and we also have 6 and 37. Gonna touch on them a little bit in just a second. I want to explain you why, especially 6, why 6 has been having such a blast recently, such a rise in popularity, and we'll explain you why. Especially if you get a couple of portraits, it's gonna be like ridiculous. So we have the usual people, and there's also our girl Beacon Bloom, and on tier 0. So those are the most used. It's mainly because of versatility, sheer amount of damage for Changeling, for if you do poison correctly. for the empowerment for 6 and Anali. Damage with Genesis for 37 and Big on Bloom being like good as usual, right? On tier 1 we have the usual people. The only addition, I don't know why I'm dying. The only additions are the Black Dwarf, and that's it. Because the other characters, we already used them, right? Druvis, for all of you that are like, what's sleeping on Druvis, this is the time to wake up. Wake up, Joe Biden, wake up, right? So, Druvis for poison, yep. And Druvis for petrify, I mean. Raising up, people are just realizing, she's good. So, Druvis up there, joins the club of the good units, the crazy units, not even good, the crazy units, right? The usual suspects, so no surprise there. Sotheby bumping up. I'm assuming Sotheby is here just because of Changeling. Otherwise, she would be probably tier 2. And that's why probably Kanjira is tier 2, because she can do some poison sometimes. I will probably talk about Kanjira whenever 1.3 drops, and we'll talk about her. Because there is a reason why she's not that good for poison. Even though if you don't have Sotheby, it's the only way for you to do a little bit of poison almost correctly with Changeling. Otherwise, you're gonna mess up the poison, right? Even then, Kanjira is a little tricky to do. We have Eternity here. I'm assuming because Chinese people are not using Eternity solo, are just using her for damage, and her damage falls off compared to the other pure DPSs, right? Because she has the kit of survivability, so she trades survivability with a little bit of damage. So that's why she's tier 2. Also, I've heard that a lot of people are using Shamane as more of a DPS than just having him debuff. And it makes sense because his kit is surprisingly leaning towards the damage. Because his I1 and I3 makes it so you can spam your ult, and your ult doesn't debuff anything. It just does damage. And if you have Nature Blessing stacked, it refunds the amount of Moxie that you use, so next turn you regain 5 Moxie and you can redo the ult, right? If you have a high amount of Nature Blessing, which is higher to stack if you have I3. So that's why he's here. It would be higher if we were considering only the universal debuffer, global debuffer. Otherwise, I think that's why it's down here. It's because of the using as a DPS. But if they're using as a DPS, it just doesn't do too much damage. So that's why there's a little weird feeling on Shamane, because he can do damage, so he wants to do spells, he wants to do attacks and incantations, which means that he's going to consume AP. So is he going to do the main DPS? No, because he doesn't have as high stats as other main DPSs. So there's a little bit of a weird situation. That's why it's T2. The other characters, I think the healers are here because of Tooth Fairy and Changeling. Because like if you need to heal, you use Tooth Fairy, and if you need poison, you use Changeling. So the others are like leftovers. And they're probably more situational, used in a more situational manner, instead of just using them everywhere, right? But if you don't have Sotheby and you don't do the poison team, or you didn't pick up Tooth Fairy or didn't pick up yet, then those two will probably be higher. Same thing with Satsuki and Kanjira. It's probably because they're situational and they're like the secondary option when you do the corresponding gameplay, like poison and rigidity, right? So tier 3, usual people. We have New Babel, okay, here it's probably because of they have a better alternative. So all the people that you're seeing here, they're not being used, not because they're bad, because at this point everybody knows that you can clear Limbo with almost every character in the game, even like the shittiest one, quote unquote shittiest one. But the thing is that, sure, you can clear, but a lot of people don't want to clear with low characters, okay? It's you need to kind of think about that. Keep that in mind. A lot of people don't want to clear with low tier units. They want to clear with the unit that they pull with, right? The units that they planned and pulled and now they have, right? So it's important to remember that these characters, yes, you can clear, but it's gonna be it's extremely difficult. You're gonna be doing hundreds of total resets for RNG and like perfect scenarios, right, to make them work. So that's why they're tier 4. I'm sorry, but some characters are just not insane, right? So it depends on what is your approach on Limbo, okay? So this character here, and these are the usual characters that are situational, so this doesn't matter. It doesn't take into account if they're good or not. They're just being used for situational approaches for Limbo, okay? And which is the same for this. Now, I will link this as well. This is like kind of unrelated, but this is a list that I've been given yesterday on stream. And this is a list that lists it's not every character, but 36 character, and it lists the attack. This column is attack, and then it's HP, real defense, mental defense, and critical technique, right? That determines your critical rate. So, and you can check their damage here. I don't know if you want to use it. I will link it in description just in case, so you can check it out and check like which one has the highest damage. And funny enough, 37 has the highest damage. Isn't that funny? The highest base damage. So she's the only unit amongst these guys and these people in the list that is really close to 1.2k. The closest one besides her is Regulus and Charlie. It's probably why Charlie is so high, right? But for characters like, can we have Tooth Fairy? We don't have Tooth Fairy. For characters like Tooth Fairy, they have low attack and they have low HP. So that's another video that I'm gonna make. It's gonna be kind of controversial, so I'm gonna prepare myself because there's a huge debate going on which sidetube is better for Tooth Fairy, Wonderland or Inquisitive Deer. We'll talk about that either on stream and then I'll share it with you on like a clip or something else. I don't know, I'll make a video about it maybe, or maybe during the build guide. Now let's talk about 6 really quickly and then we can stop, right? Because I've been yapping really hard. Now 6 is really strong, and people are realizing how insanely strong he is. And they're not realizing, right? They're just they pulled him because it's gonna be it was on phase 2, so it's very recent in China. So it was on phase 2, and now it's been out for like a week or 10 days, 14 days or something like that. So they're realizing the power of 6 and how is starting to replace a lot of other debuffers, right? And supporters. The reason being that with the new Eureka system that they have, him and 37 have, they can do a lot more than a normal character. And on top of that, he has one of the most insane kits I've ever seen. It's extremely strong. And on top of that, the portrait make him insanely strong, and he becomes literally God if you get P5, right? But even P2 is already a divinity in P2. So let's quickly do like a review. Not a review. I'll show you what it does. So the ult deals a ton of damage, and you get more stacks of 75% on top of that, right? The more stats down negative status of control you have on the target, it stacks to 4 times. So you're already at 1000% mental damage. If Eureka stacks when you start, right? Max Eureka, so the slot, max +1. And at the end of the round, if any allies are affected by 4 or more status up, right, you get Eureka +1. And this is like any allies. So it's not like, oh, one guy has to have 4 buffs. You can't do that. It's kind of weird. It's impossible, lol. No, any allies, right? So the more allies, so 4 men, remember the 4 men? 4 men is going to be easier for him to get all of the Eureka stacks, right? When attacking a target that is in stats down and negative status or control status, you deal more damage, right? Now, I3, before you cast the ultimate, you inflict 2 debuff on all enemies for 2 rounds. And collection of debuff is basically two between penetration rate, incantation might, mental death. No, what is it? Crit death, reality death, or mental death. Blind, disorient, laceration. Those are the 6 debuff that you have. It's a pool of debuff. Random two among them. They're going to be applied on all enemies for 2 rounds. And at the start of each round, randomly grant 1 effect from the collection of buffs to all allies for 2 rounds. So I3 is super strong because it makes it so you do more damage automatically on your ult, so you don't have to worry too much, even though I'll tell you in a second. And you also keep reapplying the buffs automatically on your teammates, which makes you 6 more AP friendly than usual. Yes, you kind of want to do buff and debuff in certain situations. For example, if you have a lot of Eureka and you don't want to do the ult for damage, you're just trying to power up your main DPS. At that point, you can use your Eureka and buff the character, which also gives him purifies him, gives 2 buffs, and consumes Eureka if it's 5 or more, and it's going to give him Empower Incantation, which makes him even stronger than Anna Lee when it comes to Empower Incantation. She has a random one. You can select which character. Okay, you take Empower Incantations. You take these buffs, right? And before you do the ult, if you do the buffs, the ult scales with the amount of debuffs that the enemy has. It stacks up to 4 times. But if you get more portraits, you get more maximum stacks of Eureka and more stacks of, especially on P5, that's when it becomes God, more stacks of multiplier with debuff. So that's why 37 is so powerful and everybody's using him. And a lot of people are starting, like in global, are starting to tell me, yo, Jaga, should I skip everyone? Should I skip everyone and just get P5, 6 so I win the game? They're starting to do that. 37 is basically it's similar, but it's more damage oriented. She deals a lot of damage. The gimmick about her is the Genesis damage. She has a lot of Genesis damage everywhere. She also buffs the allies, and she has Enlightenment, and you gain Eureka from the ult, and Enlightenment makes it so you deal increased damage on your next incantation. So if you do a 1 target attack that it's like 3 star, you're gonna deal 350% damage and 100% Genesis damage by itself, and then plus 100%, right? Increased by 100%. So it's going to be 450 and 200, I believe. I'm not like 100% sure. Now, so she's really good for damage. On top of that, she has supplementary formula, which triggers when you have full stacks of Eureka. You expend them automatically doing a follow-up attack, which is not an incantation, just an extra attack. Doing a follow-up attack, it doesn't gain Eureka because the I1 makes you gain Eureka when one of your allies do a follow-up attack. But so you have an extra attack that deals 120% damage to all enemies plus 40% additional Genesis. But the trick is that when you get to I3, you get the Genesis damage for all incantation be able to crit. So now Genesis damage is able to crit on I3 from I3 onward, and you also have 20% increased critical rate by default. So if you build your critical rate, it's going to be really easy to make all of these crit. Plus, if you use Tooth Fairy, it's going to be even better, right? It's going to be even easier. Now, I don't know why they made it so. Yeah, they made it so their portrait makes it really strong, but you don't need them, of course. But you don't need them. But P1 is going to make it even easier to do criticals. Now, I don't know if this one is going to be redundant. Like, okay, you reach 99, you reach like 87% critical rate with Tooth Fairy and with 37 with crit spec. So getting plus 40%, plus 20% over your I3, it's like you don't need it. It's like overflows, so it's like wasting it. It might be the case. I don't know because I don't have any character of these, not even the Chinese. I tried to get 37, but I couldn't do it. So this could be either insane or really bad. I don't know. Depends on how easy it is to to get her to crit every time. I don't know, because I don't know what pieces she has on the resonance. So you could be able to calculate it, but I don't know, right? So that's it. I don't want to talk too much. You get the gist of it. That's why these tier lists are like this. You know why now they're at the top? They're pretty much at the top, besides the global for 37, because at the end of the day, she's just a DPS. So the only one that are cracked, that don't need any gimmicks, and they're higher up, no shot, right? I mean, Changeling needs some gimmicks, the poison stuff, but she deals a lot of damage more reliably, let's say, than 37, because 37 stacking Eureka that fast is not that easy, because I don't think it's that easy to make to do follow-up attacks. Like, who does a follow-up attack? I don't even know who does it. A follow-up attack, I'm assuming, is an extra attack. Besides Lilia when she crits, I have no idea who else does a follow-up attack. If you know, let me know in the comments. So that's it. Leave a like, follow my Twitch, twitch.tv/Jakazin, or come say hi when you see me streaming, either on YouTube or Twitch. Thank you for watching. Let me know anything else if you want to know in the comments, and see you next time.